been back from the States since January 2018. I have not been in a relationship for, let's say, 4.5 years. And I'm not feeling bad about it. I'm not missing anything in my life. And some of you know what's been going on in my life. And so that kind of occupies you. And then you don't feel the urge to have anybody additional, that would complicate your life in your life. And so, so one of the reasons why I'm not in a relationship is that with work and other activities in my free time, I'm often too exhausting to have something else going on. Too often when I get home, I do not feel like communicating anymore. I'm just wiped out. My energy is completely gone, and I barely have enough alone time to refuel my energy tanks. Enough to make it through my work weeks. And so if it just simply would not be fair to drag a man into this, into something where I hardly have the time and energy to invest into growing a relationship. And the reason I'm saying this is because most of the relationships I've had in my life, it was almost like I was supposed to meet these men because we were we had amazing chemistry. And so right away, and this was a mutual feeling, right away we felt the urge to spend as much time as possible to get like all the trivial stuff out of the way, like, okay, what is your name, age, blah, 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 because we could feel like an energetic connection. And so we wanted to get to that part fast, and so we had to spend a lot of time together. And none of this is possible right now in my life. So that's one of the reasons. Another reason is that I simply don't feel the desire to have a man in my life because I'm in a phase where I'm trying to figure things out for myself. Like, how do I want to change my job situation? Or what else do I want to learn to make it possible for me to refuel my energy tanks after work? And so I have to have the time and space to experiment with that, and I don't want to be called crazy by anyone really close to me, and so I can do that while I'm not in a relationship. I can try out all kinds of stuff. And like I've done before, like I had problems falling asleep, so I decided for 2 nights I'm just not going to sleep at all. And when you're in a relationship and then you have to explain it, and then the other person might assume that something's wrong with you, which is not the case with me. I'm just experimenting with stuff. Also, I don't know if I'm going to move in order to pursue an option, like a professional option. And I would also like to continue with revisiting old beliefs and maybe changing them about life, about humanity, about everything that is going on right now in the world is triggering a lot of people to really look, take a hard look at themselves, their lives, and what they're doing on this planet, and really dig deep and try to understand life and their own beliefs, and maybe old beliefs have held them back, and so they would like to change them. And so how fair would it be to another person if I was in a beginning relationship with them, and they're trying to get to know me, and then I would have to portray my old beliefs, but then I change a belief, and that would just throw them off. And so it's too complicated. It all sounds like excuses, but these are actually my reasons. Another reason is that I'm kind of set in my ways now, not due to age, but because I'm in that kind of a phase in my life. I have a routine. I know, my job inside and out. And I have a living environment here now in my room where I can find everything fast because it's all organized. And so, yeah, and I know when after work I feel like I want to go for a walk, I don't have to call anybody and tell them. I just do it. Or, what I explained earlier about maybe not sleeping for a couple of nights just to get my tiredness up enough so that I can fall asleep again. I've done that once in my life. But having the freedom to do these kind of things. And so I have a routine in my life, and right now I don't feel, I don't know, I don't feel open enough to change my routines, because enough other things, as you guys know, are changing in my life. Another reason is, and this might actually be a subconscious one, is probably self-sabotage. I don't know if that is the case, but I've read about it in books in the past, and then I just, I didn't read them again, but it's like making yourself visually less attractive by not losing weight. And the time I became like very conscious of this principle existing is when I worked on my first military base back in 1987. And I was a little bit chubby. I'm going to show you a picture of it. But, I was, chubby, had a little bit of a belly, or, meat on my thighs, but not, overweight, and not fat or anything. But apparently I was not attractive to all the men on that military base, which is normal. But then I lost weight. And then all of a sudden they came a running, asking me if I wanted to have a cup of coffee with them, or if I wanted to go out with them. And because I'd lost all that weight, I realized, wait a minute, they were not interested in me when I was a little bit chubby. And now that I'm totally skinny, they want to come for me. Like, was I not good enough then? And so I really reacted allergically to them showing interest in me. Do you know what I mean? And so I realized that there are a lot of people out there, even still to this day, that are very superficial, and they define themselves or identify themselves over what their partner looks like. And so I do not resonate with that principle at all. And so I got mad at them. I mean, most of them I tried to stay civil with. But all of a sudden the thought hit me that, if I look a certain way, or, if I've had a couple of burgers too much, people don't like me. But when I'm all skinny, they come running for me. And that disgusted me. So maybe now I'm still doing that, or maybe that's the tendency in my life, that I feel like when I'm chubby, or when I'm completely overweight or obese like I am now, at least the superficial men will leave me alone, and they won't waste my time by approaching me, because it was so bad back then, And I never wore pumps or anything. I mean, not at work. I always wore sneakers, jeans, and plaid shirts, or baggy shirts, and still they came for me because of the weight loss. Apparently, I don't know. I really don't know, and it disgusted me. And so I'm still wearing baggy, tops, and no revealing clothes whatsoever, and still people come for you. But it's a lot less when you're obese. So that kind of led me down the path, subconsciously maybe self-sabotaging myself, that less men find me attractive. I realized that of course it's all about the energy we're sending out. It's not just about the looks. And more and more people realize that in their journeys to become more conscious. And I've had experiences with picture perfect men where when they stood in front of me, like from afar, I was like, oh my gosh, that's a head turner. And when I was actually in a conversation with them, their energy was just dead. There was nothing there. There was no connection. And I thought, wow, so it's not just the looks. Let's just leave it at this. I think that I'm subconsciously not losing weight, because right now I just don't want anybody coming for me in that way, like showing interest in me. And they do it anyway at work, because I can't help but go to work. But I just tell them, no, I don't get involved with anybody at work. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a lot easier. Another reason why I'm not in a relationship right now is that I'm sending out the wrong signals to men. When I read the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus by John Gray, I think this was in the 90s. I realized, or maybe even in the 80s, I'm not sure. I realized that the way we portray ourselves in the world has a lot to do with what people we attract. Like I said earlier, when I was a bit chubbier, some men probably thought, yeah, I don't want to be seen with her, but then I lose maybe what, 10, 15 pounds, all of a sudden they come running. Um, so, the way I would like to explain it, how I'm living my life is, I was never the girly girl kind of a dresser. I love practical clothing, shirts, jeans, sneakers, no tight or revealing clothing, because I kind of understood that that would attract the wrong people. I only didn't understand why I felt this way. Had I dressed in a more feminine way, I would have attracted protective men and gentlemen who treat their women more carefully. But since I was sending out the tomboy kind of a vibe, I attracted men who saw me as an equal, a strong woman who can handle her own, one that does not need a man to bring home the bacon. And so I ended up in relationships where I always made more money than the man in my life, except the last man I was in a relationship with in the States. And that was always an issue because the male ego cannot take when the woman makes more money. I mean, things are slowly changing now, and a lot of men have dropped the male ego when it comes to income. But in my relationships, it was always a problem, especially with my daughter's father. He felt so attacked by me making more money. And I never let him, I never wanted to make him feel that way. And I told him, I don't care who brings home more money, we spend the money together anyway. But every time we had a disagreement or whatever about something totally different, he would say, oh, you think you're always right just because you make more money than me. And I said, what? Where did you come up with that thought? And so you could tell it was always on, in the back of his mind, that he felt intimidated by me just because I made more money. And yeah, so even though I made a lot of progress concerning what signals I send out in the past few years, I now have a totally different problem. And that is that when my plane had landed from the States back here in Germany, I decided that I'm going to let my hair go gray. I'm not going to color it anymore. I'm going to show you a picture here of what it looked like before I stopped dyeing it. And also I'm overweight, and I've been overweight for a few years now, even though my whole life was like my weight yo-yoing, like being skinny, overweight, right? But it seems like now for a whole bunch of years I've been overweight, and I'm slowly finding out that there are reasons for that, and I will talk about that in the future. That's too much for one video now. But so my voice, I've been told, is like the nurturing kind of a voice, the motherly kind of voice. My personality is that I'm understanding, and so and now I'm a good listener, and I'm interested in people's life stories. And so on top of all of that, I'm overweight and I have gray hair. And so I attract men that are actually looking for the mother type, right? Somebody that takes care of them, that understands them, that is understanding about their flaws, right? A woman that will cook and run their households for them and nurture them by being the motherly type. I get it, only I can't be that right now. Especially not now with everything I got going on. But even in past relationships, even the last few relationships that I had, it does not really help, and I'm putting this in air quotes, it doesn't really help that I'm an empath, because it means that I can detect their problems, even the ones they're not even aware of yet, because they have not worked on personal development at all. Like a lot of people out there have not even begun the journey, and so I always like I could help them, but they could not help me, and that's how, like in on the spiritual level, on the emotional level, they could not help me. They could offer me maybe I don't know, physical security by protecting me. Let's say somebody would come at me or whatever. Back then I was, in the early days, I was going to bars and stuff, and they could help me on certain levels, but not on the levels where I needed developing, and that is in the spiritual department, and I could sense what they needed, if they needed, to talk or whatever, or if they needed help with any problems, but they could not detect it with me because I've never run into a male empath so far. I've not been lucky enough to do that, and I'm still kind of waiting for that, and I guess if the right one came along that made me feel like he's not just a taker but also a giver, um, I would probably drop everything I said in this video so far and get into a relationship. But right now it's just not very high up on my list, and I've long dropped the notion that I'm defining myself over having a man in my life or not. I don't care what people think when it comes to, the people that think, oh, she doesn't have a husband in her life. I wonder how come and what's wrong with her. People that think like that, I do not have in my life. And so that I've dropped that principle that I need to have a man in my life to be worth respect or any kind of attention. I've dropped it because I know myself. I know how to nurture myself and how to move forward on my spiritual and personal development, and I'm working on my life right now, and so I just don't feel the necessity. Of course, I could use a strong shoulder to lean on here and there, but I miss some of the things that come with being in a relationship with a man, but they're not important enough for me to drop everything else just to have that. All right, you guys. These are the reasons why I'm not currently in a relationship and why I have not been in a relationship and why I can't even see myself being one in the near future because I'm way too busy with things like with life, with corona. I'm not worried about getting corona from a man. I mean, that's not one of the reasons why I'm not out there looking for a man. I just believe in everything happening for a reason, and if I'm supposed to run into somebody that I vibe with, then I'm gonna find him one way or another. He's just gonna pop up on my live screen, and so I'm not sweating it. I'm not interested in it right now, but I will keep you up to date in case anything happens in the relationship department. Yeah, so thank you for listening to this. Maybe it made some of you laugh or help you understand me a little bit as a person, and I will see you in my next video. Which there are going to be videos again, not just audio recordings, but for now it's just so much easier and so much faster. So thank you for bearing with me. Have a great day, a great weekend, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.